it's the latest wave of massive attacks against Kyiv. 40 drone attacks, which without a missiles, blended missiles, it does appear to be just drone attacks. It's no coincidence, and actually it happens on the anniversary of the formation of Kyiv, which was some 1,541 years ago. Normally on this day, it's celebrated by street parties and stuff like that in Kyiv. As it is, it's a bit more muted today, but it almost certainly irritates Russia because it's part of the Ukrainian nationalism, and therefore it's no great surprise that that's why they've been targeting Kyiv itself. There were a total of 54 drone attacks. They were targeting Kharkiv and Dnipro, as well as around the country. 52 of those apparently were shot down, but inevitably some get through. One person killed, 3 injured, and here's some of the footage from Kyiv itself. It looks fairly superficial, but it's quite extensive, the damage, and that's why we've had quite a lot of casualties.
And Sean, I mean, what we're hearing also that Russia now claiming to be able to shoot down long-range Ukrainian missiles. How could this impact things then moving forward?
It's all part of the information war that's going on. So Russia claims that it shot down 2 of these missiles. These are Storm Shadow missiles that were given to Ukraine earlier this year by the UK. They're pretty fast, they're pretty difficult to shoot down, but they've also, Russia's claimed that it shot down the HIMARS missile, some missiles which is what the Americans have given. Now, the reality is these are really difficult to shoot down, but never say never. What looks more likely, though, is that Russia was somewhat frustrated that its Kinzhal missile, which is on the Russian aircraft that's near you there, this is the hypersonic missile, which was described by Russia's President Putin as being undefeatable, then the Ukraine has actually been able to shoot a lot of these down. And I think Russian frustration means they now want to show that they can shoot down some of the West's weapons, so they're claiming they've shot down HIMARS and Storm Shadow. The reality is that we don't really know what's going on here, but what has been clear is the West weapons are providing an asymmetric advantage to Ukraine and definitely worrying the Russians.
And Sean, what's the latest then on the counteroffensive?
We're waiting for the start line and everybody to rush across. In fact, from a military perspective, it normally starts with phase 0, we call it, which is you shape the enemy landscape. So you're hitting the Russians behind the front line, hitting their targeting, their oil facilities, their rail infrastructure, their weapon storage. That's already started. But what was interesting in the news today was the Russian ambassador said that Russia was ready to talk and wanted to negotiate peace. And also that the war could be over by tomorrow. Now, the harsh reality, is this rhetoric or real?
Absolutely.
This has happened before,
yeah.
But the normal foundations for a negotiated settlement are normally either both sides have ground themselves to a halt, exhausted, and therefore they're in a stalemate, and therefore it's a good opportunity to talk. Clearly, they're not in that position at the moment. Or one of the sides has actually achieved all its objectives on the battlefield and then says, right, we're ready to talk. Russia clearly either wants to take the whole of Ukraine or at least the Donbass, has not achieved success yet. President Zelensky, he's made clear he wants to get rid of Russians out of every corner of the soil, and they're just about to launch a spring offensive. So in reality, neither side is anywhere close. We're nowhere near getting a negotiated settlement yet. And the real story here is that the Russian ambassador is just playing his part in a Russian information campaign. Very shallow.
Absolutely, absolutely. Sean, thank you. Sean Bell there.